Hey, 8th grade. So I'm here with the To Kill a Mockingbird questions for chapter 1. I've written them on the board behind me. I'm going to go over each one of them. If you need to pause the video to write down answers or anything like that, you're more than welcome to. So these are the questions for chapter 1. I'll do separate videos for the other ones. I'll probably do chapters 2 and 3 together because there's not as many questions for that chapter. So I hope you're enjoying the book. This is one of my favorite books. I really like it. It is a little bit harder read than what we just did, The Giver, because of how it's written, but it's a really good book and it's really interesting. It has a lot of plot twists in it, and it has a lot of characters in it. So I'm sure everyone's met Scout. She's the main character. She's also the narrator of the story. So that's what the first question was, is who's the narrator of the novel and what type of narration is used. So number 1, I have up here Scout, and it's first person. Number 2 says the narrator begins her story by giving the reader some background information. What does the narrator reveal about her family history in the first several pages? So I have Scout's family is from the South, but her ancestor, Simon Finch, was from England, where he practiced medicine. Then he made Finch's Landing and made a living from cotton there. So when he migrated from England to America, he founded Finch's Landing, and then he started making cotton there. Okay. Number 3, the novel set in Macomb, Alabama, and this is an actual place. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, I'm sure many of you know about what the Great Depression is. And it says, how does the narrator describe the town, and what indicates that most of the townspeople are poor? So number 3, we're going to put Macomb was an old town, a tired town, grass grew on the sidewalks, and it was hot there. It also said things about like how the people, let's see, I have it written down right here. The people in the town just moved slowly. They didn't do a lot of things. So this lets you know that the people in the town were not very wealthy. Like, this was not a very wealthy town. Number 4, how does Scout describe the way she and her brother feel about their father? They thought their father was satisfactory. They said he played with them, he read to them, and he treated them well. So it wasn't that they didn't like him, but it was like they also didn't have an abundance of overjoy for him either. They just kind of were, they liked him, but not just, they weren't just overly abundantly happy, I guess. But it's just kind of their personalities, as you find out when you read more about Jim and Scout. And they're brother and sister, and Scout is a girl, and Jim is the boy, and he's older. Okay. Number 5 says, what happened to Scout and Jim's mother? She died when Scout was 2 of a heart attack. Let me move this so you guys can see that one a little bit better. So it's right down here. She died when Scout was 2 of a heart attack, and Scout didn't really miss her because she didn't remember her. Okay. She was 2 when it happened. All right, so now we're going to take a look at these questions on this side. Number 6 says, who is Calpurnia? How does Scout describe her and identify a simile that uses her, that she uses in her description? So she's like their nanny / maid. She helps take care of the house. She helps take care of the kids. She does lots of things around the house to help Atticus the dad. She always is ordering Scout around and telling her what to do, which Scout doesn't really like. She loves Cal, but at the same time, she gets tired of her telling her what to do. And then for the simile, her hand was as wide as a bed flat and twice as hard. That was the simile that was used. So that probably means that Scout got a few whoopings by Cal, is what my guess is. Number 7, how did Jim and Scout meet Dill, and how does Scout describe the boy? So for number 7, Scout and Jim heard something in the neighbor's collard patch, and it was Dill sitting there. They were outside playing one day. They heard something in there. Dill is Miss Crawford's nephew that comes and visits. Okay, and then it says, how did she describe him? She said he was curious. So he's a really curious kid. Number 8 says, what is frightening to the children about the Radley house, and what lives in the house according to Scout? So what's frightening is how the house looks and how the yard is all grown up, and they think Boo Radley lives inside the house, okay, which is one of the people in the Radley family. All right, number 9, describe some of the rumors surrounding the Radley house and its inhabitant, and how does the reader know some of the rumors are untrue and the fears concerning the house may be unfounded? All right, people thought that the Radleys were responsible for animals being killed at night. So several years ago, before this happened, there were animals being killed at night, and so they thought that they were responsible for it because the Radleys are kind of different. They don't really get out of their house that much. The mom she doesn't go and socialize with the other ladies that live in the neighborhood. The dad keeps to himself. So they just kind of think that they're different. So they thought they might have been responsible for this, but comes to find out later, it was someone else that had been doing that. So they think that the pecans that fall in their yard, people say that they'll kill you if you eat a pecan. You know, just different things like that it reveals in the story that they think that are rumors that are going on about the Radleys that we find out really is not true. That they're what they are, rumors. Number 10 says, beginning with the line, the misery of that house began many years before Jim and I were born. Scout tells the reader the sad history of the Radley family. So you want to briefly summarize what happened to the family. So Arthur Radley, which is the son, he hung around with the wrong crowd and he got in trouble. Then he got released to his dad. So how that happened was his dad went to the sheriff and told him, my son's never been in trouble. I'll make sure he stays home. I'll make sure he stays out of trouble. Like he was just with the wrong crowd. And so the sheriff then finally releases him to his dad. His dad keeps his word. He keeps him at home. He doesn't let him out. He doesn't let him go and do. He makes him behave. But then, supposedly, later on, he stabs his parents in the leg with scissors. Okay? So, and the dad comes out and he's running out of the house saying, Arthur just stabbed me with the scissors. So that is supposedly what happens in that house before. So that kind of gives you another reason why you think that these Radleys, there's something going on with them. All right, number 11. Let me move this over. Hopefully you can read that. Number 11, it says, how did the townspeople feel about the Radley family? They didn't like them. Basically, that was the gist of the whole thing, is they didn't like them. Number 12, after Dill wonders aloud what Boo really looks like, Jim gives a description from his imagination. How does he describe Boo, and what image does his depiction evoke? So I put his depiction, what he says. Boo is about 6.5 feet tall, hands bloodstained because supposedly he eats raw animals all the time. Long scar on his face. His teeth are yellow and rotten. And so that kind of gives you a description of something scary, right? And then last one, number 13. On what dramatic note does the chapter end? What do the kids do, and what is the result of their action? So they're talking about trying to get on the Radley property, and Dill tells him he needs to go and hit the side of the house and see what happens. So that's exactly what he does. Jim slaps the Radley house after Dill told him to. Okay, so that's how the chapter ends for chapter 1. And then I'll be back in just a minute with chapter 2 questions. Bye, guys.